Hello and welcome to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. This week, Lyle and I are taking you to explore the Pest Side of Budapest. This is where the biggest parliament building in Europe is, with its interior like a palace. Also, this side of Budapest is home to the largest synagogue in Europe, the amazing trendy ruin bars, and the tragic shoes on Budapest Monument. You will hear all about the popular Hero Square, the incredible St. Stephen's Basilica with his mummified hand inside. You will also learn about the best Danube River cruise to take and when to take it. And lastly, we share the yummiest and oldest Hungarian food you should try. If you would like to see the pictures inside the stunning Hungarian Parliament, the mummified hand of St. Stephen, or the views from the Danube River cruise, then click on the link to episode 102 in the podcast player you are listening on now. Please enjoy this episode all about the Pest Side of Budapest. Good morning, Lyle.
Good morning, Leonita.
And good morning, everybody. It's where we are. It's morning. And I'm glad you're back to listen to our second episode all about Budapest.
Budapest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Had lots of feedback on our first episode, which is, if you want to find out what we did there, it's episode 101. But today we are talking about the Pest side of Budapest. Now, we did say in the first podcast that Buda and Pest used to be two cities, Buda on one side and Pest on the other.
Yes,
divided.
And they unified in 1873.
Okay, and divided by the Danube River. And today we want to talk all about the Pest side because we were blown away by that. I mean, as much as we just love the Buda side and the castles and everything, we sort of got off the metro, which once again is a whole other story, that metro. But the good thing is when you come up out of that metro system, and basically it's two stops from the Buda side, got on the metro, two stops, and you come up in the middle of Pest.
Yeah.
And we just went, wow.
Yeah, it's the buildings. Well, I'll let you describe it. You're better at that than me.
That, I don't know. Actually, I don't know what I was expecting because where we were staying, as we said in the last podcast, if you look at the pictures, all we could see really from our place was the main thing we could see was the Hungarian Parliament building, which is massive. So I didn't really have any idea. I mean, I knew there was Jewish quarters and all that sort of stuff, which we're going to talk about in a little while, but I didn't really have any idea what was behind the castle, the Parliament building. And I was really blown away because, as I said, you come up and you walk out into this little square and you are surrounded by streets that are wide, tree-lined.
Well, I remember what you said to me. You said, this reminds me of Paris.
Yeah, it was a little bit Paris-y and you didn't believe me.
Well, first of all, I thought, oh, Paris, really?
Well,
and then the more and more,
that
it was almost like it was these tree-lined avenues.
Right, wide streets with shady big trees and the buildings.
And the buildings all at the same height.
Yes.
But they were very much Austrian architecture, same as like in Trieste.
Yeah.
And the brand shops were there.
I was going to say the house like Rolex and all the fashion, the top fashion.
Yeah, there was Gucci, Gucci, sorry.
Yeah. And there were like security guards outside. It was all that like really upmarket, and the streets are wide, and we were just wandering around, just checking it all out. And that was just one of the streets, and that took you to the Hungarian Opera House where we had to find a meeting spot for another day. And that itself, this beautiful big opera sort of building, that was impressive. And then not just that street, we wandered around a bit more, and there's a street called Fashion Street.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're just full of all the fashion shops. And the fashion in Budapest that we did mention last time, I just love it. It's just so European. It's not as upmarket as some places. Not everybody's as dressed up, but some are, and it's just different. And yeah, I love the fashion street. And then there was another street, like we called it Restaurant Street, Food Street, I don't know, but it was lined, I think we mentioned that last time as well, with like all the different restaurants that you can imagine, right? And they're all got their
just one after the other.
And the thing I loved about it is that once again it's basically pedestrian only, and they've got their tables outside, and it just has a really nice atmosphere.
Again, a little bit probably Parisy, as in the cafes and that sort of thing.
Yeah, some of them had the red and white check tablecloths that you see in Paris everywhere. And
I think that, to me, I was surprised, as you say, with the people, whether it be tourists, locals, or whatever. It really comes through to me as quite an affluent city.
Yeah, it did. Certainly going over that side of Budapest.
You don't see any any sort of people that would make you feel anxious at all.
No.
It feels very safe.
Very safe city, exactly. And it's, once again, quite touristy, but not over the top. There's lots of groups walking around as well. We also in that sort of main area that we were at is Hero Square, and that's quite popular because I just said to Lyle a while ago, what was the name of that big that the Ferris wheel? They don't call it a Ferris wheel, like it's got another name. So I googled it, and of course it's called the Ferris wheel of Budapest.
Yeah.
So that's one of the the highlights, but you can see it everywhere through the Pest side. And
so the Hero Square, which you just mentioned, that's a Millennium Monument. So that was built in 1896.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Hero Square I was talking about.
Which one are you talking about?
Just the one in the main street there, the main area. Like Hero Square's the other one. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, we'll come back to Hero Square. My bad, my mistake.
Do you want to? May as well do the.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a millennium.
It's not right in this part of Pest, though.
1896.
It's a little way out. It's over near the sort of thermal baths area, but it's a massive, big square.
Yeah, it's the main square of Budapest.
Okay, sorry.
On the Pest side. But that was built in 1896 to celebrate the founding of Hungary, which was in 896.
Right.
It features 7 chieftains of the Magyars, which they describe as the indigenous people. And
it's massive. They've got these 2 big curving sort of monuments which have got the chieftains on it, and then in the middle it has like a big spire as well with more statues around it. And
that's a 36-meter high pillar topped by golden Archangel Gabriel holding the Hungarian crown and a cross.
And all around the bottom of it it's paved or sort of cement, and there's hardly anybody there. So has quite an impact on you when you get there, because it's basically empty. There's a few people around when we were there, and just massive monuments. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and they're surrounded by some pretty impressive buildings as well.
Sure,
so we did get that one out of order. But now, just there are 14 9-foot bronze statues of historical figures who played an active role in the creation of modern Hungary. And look, it's impressive. It's huge. But when we were there, there was no one else there, hardly.
Yeah, so it made a really big impact. But go and have a look at Beach Travel Wine. Go to the podcast 102, because I got a couple of nice photos of that, and also of the streets that we were talking about before, because you need to see them to appreciate what we're talking about. And if you really want to have a good look on our Instagram, if you go to the stories highlights at the top and click the Budapest one, you'll see all our wanderings around this area that we're chatting about now. So
were you meaning the Parliament House Square?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
so that's that's
there's squares everywhere. I guess what we're trying to say, there's also that square where we stopped and had a beer, with the little little stalls around. There's a little square there as well, so it's hard to remember the name of them all.
I think the main square for Parliament House is dedicated. I think it's Kuthmath. You'll have to forgive us for our.
Forgive me, you said
it. Forgive me for my pronunciation. And now that is basically the square around the Parliament House, and there's some fabulous monuments there. There's an equestrian statue of Francis II, Rack 6.
Yep.
Again, pronunciation. Now that particular that guy was a nobleman, and he was the first nobleman to to go against the Habsburgs. So he's considered a hero of Hungary. There's another one of Esteban Tiza Stephen Tiza.
That was an impressive statue.
That's a beautiful statue. I was blown away, and that's why I actually looked it up. Now, he was the Prime Minister from 1903 to 1905, and then again in 1913 to 1915. And he was loyal to the monarchy, as in the Austrian-Hungarian, but he was assassinated in 1918 by the leftist political party in Hungary. So that's beautiful. Then you've also got there's a memorial to the 1956 when the Soviet Union or the Russians came in and stopped a rebellion against them. So, and that's in 1956. You go downstairs to that.
Well, so we're going to talk about Parliament House now.
Sure.
Okay. Well, when we went to Parliament House, we went under the Danube and we got off at the first stop on the metro. And just like a bit of for your information, I timed it because we were on one side of the Danube, right? And we hop on, and as soon as we got on the train, I timed it. And as soon as we got off the train, so we started in Buda, and by the time we went under the Danube and got off the train in Pest, it was 1 minute exactly. Like it goes that fast. It was incredible. And so we come up, and we're right there at the back side. That's the wrong, the behind the Parliament House, right? And as I said, we've only seen Parliament House from the front, but it's equally as impressive from behind, and that's where you find all these statues as well as the memorials that you're talking about. And there is actually an entrance that's where the grand staircase comes from, that side as well. Like you could see the doors and that open the staircase, and it was being guarded. So it's not just a straight building. It's like a T shape or something. It's like, what's it, 140 meters long or something?
No, it's 18,000 square meters.
Yeah,
right?
But the length of it to get from one side to the other is what I'm talking about. You just keep walking. It is the most impressive building, even walking around it in the daytime. And then there's all these statues, and then there's the old Parliament House building,
which is behind
it, which is stunning.
And I think that's now the judicial building.
Yeah. And then there was the other statue in that little garden area that the high school kids were sitting around. That was impressive as well. So, I mean, it was amazing. And then we walked over to the Danube, right outside the Parliament House, and the views back to Buda was stunning as well. And I got some amazing photos back over Buda Castle and Fisherman's Bastion. It was so impressive, and that's just wandering around the outside. Yeah.
So now the Parliament House is the seat of the National Assembly of Hungary. It is situated on Gosseth Square, so I was right, in the Pest side of the city on the eastern bank of the Danube. It was designed by Hungarian architect Imre Steinbul in neo-Gothic style and opened in 1902. This palace has 691 interior rooms, 10 courtyards, 88 statues of Hungarian rulers on its facade, and 125 miles of staircases.
Imagine that in kilometres.
Okay, and it's got 40 kilograms of 23 carat gold.
It's impressive, right?
So now you want to tell them about the tour.
Well, yeah. So we decided that we wanted to do a tour inside the Parliament House, and so I booked that tour. And if you want to have a look at the pictures from that, go to episode 102. And I'm going to put the link to the tour that we did there as well. Now, here's a hint for you though. When we went to book it, you can choose a non-EU ticket or an EU ticket. Now, I know that makes sense. Everyone knows what they are, but the EU tickets are half the price of the non-EU tickets. So what some people did is they bought EU tickets when they're not in the EU, right?
Yeah.
So there was a couple from Israel, I think, and they booked
and there was another American couple.
Yeah, right. And
but I think one of them had dual citizenship with Estonia.
But they also say you need to take your passport. Now, we didn't need our passport. The people who need passports are the people who are in the EU, because you have to prove that you live in the EU to get the half-price tickets, right? And they're not going to let you in. So there was a few people that obviously either by mistake or were trying to get the cheaper tickets bought the wrong ones. And so therefore it held the whole process up, and it was a bit of a shambles at the beginning to make sure everyone had the right tickets, yeah? And there was a guy training as well. But eventually we all got our tickets, and you go in at set time. So we were there a week, and we could only get one time slot that suited us. So if you want to go inside the Parliament House, and we'd certainly recommend you do that to see a little bit of this glamorous building, then, book ahead because, to get the time slot you want. So it doesn't matter whether you're there early or late. They basically only let so many people in at a time. When you go in, you get your ticket and you get an audio guide. Yes, and you also have a guide that walks with you, but the audio guide's in something like 30 languages, and you just hold it up against a QR code or whatever it is, and it programs to your English if that's what you want. So we're all sort of in the same group, but we're all listening in our own language, which I thought was, it was cool. It was really seamless, actually. Some of the audio guides that you do, you have to put the number in, or this one just, basically the guide kept us going up until the new part would start. So that whole thing was brilliant. You have to go through a little security area too, so don't take big bags or umbrellas or anything that they think might be a weapon. That's going to be a nuisance for you. So only take the minimum of what you need. Now, I think the tour was about an hour, 15 minutes from memory, but you start you start up on the 4th floor, so there's a fair few stairs. There is a lift if you can't do the stairs, which I took down, which was a bit lazy, but I'm glad I did because the lift itself was pretty impressive.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, and so you walk up this, you think it's the main staircase, but, you find out later that it's not really the main staircase, but the ceilings are elaborate, the walls are elaborate, the banisters are elaborate, the lights are elaborate.
It's what you expect to see in a European, like a royal palace.
But not a Parliament House, right?
Not a Parliament House,
no,
correct.
It looks like a palace, yeah. So just going in up the stairs was brilliant, and just taking it in. And once again, photos, go and have a look at all the stories. I actually got some really nice videos of this, and you're listening all the time, which is handy. Got a thing on your ear which stays on really easily as well. And from there we walk through.
You mean the audio?
Yeah, the audio thing, yeah. And from there we walk through hallway after hallway, which are decorated, and they've got these Hungarian figures that are made out of. They're not paper mache, but they're some sort of technique that they came up with over 100 years ago, and they've got all the different work that the people did. They had fishermen, and they just had everybody represented, and
all the working class, because I think obviously that was to incorporate the fact that it was a parliament for everybody.
For everybody, that's
right.
So
they had a statue of every sort of occupation you could possibly think of.
And beautiful big wooden windows and the carpets. In fact, there was one room we went in and it was like a hand knotted carpet. Yeah. And they said it took, I don't know how many hours just to do 10 centimetres. And this carpet went the whole length of the room. And it was hundreds of years old, Like, I'm surprised they still let people walk on it, to be honest.
Yeah, I was exactly the same, I thought. And there was that blue. It was a blue carpet. And
it was beautiful. I do have a photo.
They did say what that blue represented, and I'm not sure now.
And that's handy for a podcast. We can't really
remember what it was for. But the carpet was beautiful.
And I did get a lovely photo of that room as well, because it had beautiful big chandeliers, and once again those figurines on every sort of not balustrade, but column in the room. So elaborate. You're right. It could be any European palace. And then you get to
the stairwell, the staircase,
the grand staircase. It's called. So you've got to go and see the pictures of this. It's like VIP entry on steroids.
Yeah, not even the parliamentarians come up that way.
No.
No, it's just for royal visits or visits from head of.
Top, I think. It's the top VIPs get in there, and it's sort of like you come up one staircase and then you got to turn and go up, and I think there's like 3 levels of it, wide steps, covered in lush red carpet.
Of course, red carpet.
Yeah, and gold everywhere and embellishments everywhere and timber everywhere. And, we got a selfie in front of it. We were VIPs for a little while.
A moment.
Yeah, a moment. And you get just statues. It's amazing. Like it's sort of the grand entrance that you couldn't even write about it if you wanted to. If you wanted to pick one for a movie, that's what the one you want. You want a grand entrance into that. So there's a whole lot of information about that in your audio tour as well, and we learned a lot about that. And that blew me away, to be honest. And then opposite that is that great big dome room, and it's I don't even know how high the dome is. We should know that as well, but it's like a double dome up the top, and there's still 30 meters above that first dome. And there's one big chandelier, and the only way to the only way to change the lights is they have to climb down on the chandelier because there's no way to get up there
because it's that high.
It's that high, and in the middle of this room there's some symbols of the Hungarian, or the symbols, not some, the crown.
Yeah, the original crown of St. Stephen's.
Yeah,
that was back in 895.
Yeah, and it's sort of wooden, but it's got stones, and it's got a crooked cross on the top, and they tell you all about the theories behind that as well. They've got there's like a dome thing. I can't even think what that's called, and a sword, and it's just all sitting there in the middle of a room, guarded by 2 security guards who are
they're special forces.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say, who are special forces. They do an hour on, hour off. You can't go within 2 meters of them, right?
Yeah.
I was worried about that guy who had the sight impediment because he was using his stick, and I'm like, oh, don't go any closer. The guy's got his sword out.
Yeah, so they take it pretty seriously. But
we couldn't take photos of that though, because you're not allowed to take any photos. They don't want to damage the. They want to keep the crown and all those sort of things safe, don't they? Now those Hungarian, the crown and the sword, they went to America for a while. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but that was when because of the Soviet Union.
Yes, so the war or whatever.
The Communist Party, basically. So the Hungarians obviously sent it to America for safekeeping.
And the Americans were just going to keep it until they could give it back to the people, which they did, and it was a big celebration. And then they're now on display for everybody to see, which is
but that
impressive.
Crown, it doesn't look that all impressive. But when you think about it,
how old it
was 895, and they have they've got, it's 2 parts of the crown. One part is like the Caesar, the Roman
metal bit.
Yeah.
The leaves,
reef, and then you've got what you would normally call the crown.
Yeah.
But it's pretty impressive. It's got obviously lots of jewels and
then
that sort of thing.
Sort of, as I said, it's a dome, so it's like a round room. And so I think there's 12 different statues around the room as well. Sort of almost, they'd be life size. Those statues,
at least, yeah.
And they're of all the famous Hungarian leaders.
Yeah, well, they've got the chieftains, and then they've got religious people, but all those sort of really important people in Hungarian history. And
the good thing about this tour is they give you all the information as you're going, and they say, if you look here and look at that one, and you can see this. I thought the way the tour audio was run.
I thought that too, because you knew exactly who each person was and how they affected the history of Hungary.
And it kept everybody flowing as well. Like sometimes when you do an audio tour on your own, some people just stand, in the way. But this one, everyone just flowed.
How many people do you reckon was actually in that tour?
Probably 25, maybe 30.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked Len is to point out that we were the only people within the Parliament House at that time. So there's no pushing, there's no shoving, there's no.
They time it, don't they?
It's very relaxed.
Yeah, very relaxed. I think it's every half hour, maybe, and so by the time the next group starts, we're well in, and it's all timed exactly the same time. You're all moving at exactly the same pace.
That really impressed me. I thought they did that really well.
Do that well. And so then we passed through the room we talked about with the handmade carpet and the Hungarian history on the walls, and we go into a hallway. And do you remember they had all these gold? They had these gold sort of what would I say, long, probably 2 foot long and 5 centimeters wide, gold, and they had these little ridges in them all the way along, and they were under each window.
And there was a number.
Yes. Yeah.
There was a number. And what they were the cigar holders for the parliamentarians. Yeah. So each number obviously represented a parliamentarian, so that when they came out, they could put the cigars, because I don't think you could smoke inside the assembly.
Can you imagine though? Like there were so many of them, they'd all just come out and have their smoking cigars just sitting there.
Yeah.
And they were under at least they were under the windows, so that was pretty. I just like, and they looked like they were gold. Obviously, they weren't, but And then from there, we went in to view the actual parliament. Yeah, and it's not huge, but it is stunning. Lots of timber, stained glass. It's almost like a decorated church, isn't it? It was the not the pulpit, but where the I guess where the speaker sits.
Yeah, the speaker. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they give you all the history, and they talk about times where Parliament's been disrupted and that sort of thing, and how it runs now, and the beautiful decorations and the archways. It's not like your normal Parliament House, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, one of the things I spoke to you about too is that a lot of these buildings, for instance, the Fisherman's Bastion, which was built around the same time as the Parliament House. So all these buildings, obviously, Hungary being part of the Austrian-Hungary Empire, this is when there was a lot of money around.
Right.
There was a lot of money around, and then of course when the First World War started, which was in about 1915 or something like that, and I finished in 1918, I think. Well, all that just collapsed. There was no money because Austria-Hungary actually lost the war. So you can see, I think Hungary's one of these places, or Budapest is one of these places where you do have to have a pretty good idea of how the history operated to get a full sense of what the city is.
We're going to tell you about something in a minute, which is like the opposite of the wealth, because it has a pretty tragic history as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, but before we finish the Parliament House, so once you finish going the actual seeing the Parliament, right? You walk through some more hallways, get a little bit more information, and then you end up in sort of a room that has lots of pictures and history of the building itself, which is pretty impressive before you exit.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. How it was constructed.
Yeah. And then when you exit, there's a lovely cafe area there and a courtyard area. There's free toilets for people to use. That's one of the things I think I struggle with when travellers trying to find clean toilets to use when you're away. So it's definitely worth the price of admission.
Sure, it's not cheap, but it is worth it.
Yeah. So if you want to know what that tour is, go and check out our website at beachtravelwine.com, episode 102. Wow, that was, so everything about that building, the at nighttime, at daytime, walking around it outside, walking around it inside, like there's just nothing that's not amazing.
Well, it's the third largest Parliament House in the world.
Right.
So, and just a quick to go back, talking about toilets, just be aware that a lot of the public toilets you do have to pay.
Yeah, but some of them do take card, but it'd be worth getting a little bit of
it's only about €1.
Yeah.
But
the thing
just be aware that you do have to pay.
Like, people complain about it, but I don't mind paying because it means there's someone there cleaning it all the time.
Sure.
That's a good thing about paying for toilets. So, and what's your alternative, really? Not going to the toilet. All right, Lyle, let's move on from the Parliament House. And once we left Parliament House, we walked back out onto the Danube. Yeah.
Yep.
And there is a memorial right there on the edge of the Danube that I think most people have either seen or heard of, and it's called the Shoes on the Danube.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you know how many pairs of shoes there are?
Okay. No, now the Shoe on the Danube is a memorial erected on the 16th of April 2005, so not that long ago. It was conceived by film director Gan Togay to honour the Jews who were massacred by fascist Hungarian militia belonging to the Arrow Cross Party in Budapest during the Second World War. They were ordered to take their shoes off. Shoes were valuable and could be resold, and were shot at the edge of the Danube so that their bodies fell into the river and were carried away. The memorial represents their shoes left behind on the bank. Look,
now, when you say memorial, we haven't quite described it. Basically, it is shoes, all different types of shoes that they would have been wearing back then, like literally probably 100, all different types, like children's shoes, boots. Ladies' shoes, in all different, and they're all sort of probably about 10, 20 centimetres apart all along the edge, right on the edge of the Danube. And it's pretty moving.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Go and have a look. Obviously I keep saying this, but I've taken some lovely pictures. I zoomed in on a little children's pair of shoes, and I've got some of, like an angle of right down along a line of them. There's quite a few people there, but I managed to get some nice shots of those shoes.
But some of the shoes had ribbons and some had flowers on them.
There was lots of
but you're right. It was very, very moving. And just be aware too that the people that were in charge of that Arrow Cross Party that did the deeds were tried as war crimes.
Yeah. Do you know how many were shot? Did we?
It was thousands.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. So it's worth going to have a look at that. It is pretty moving, and it's just right there on the edge. You just walk along about 300 metres, I think, from the front of the Parliament House. Yeah.
Yeah. It's but it's very moving.
Yes.
Then we walked along there, and
we decided we were going to go to the Jewish area, the synagogue and the ruin bars.
So the ruin bars. Now Leanne she was determined to go there, but I think that was because your lovely daughter Michaela told you all about it. And what it was that how it started, and I have got it written down somewhere. I can't find it.
Well, the ruin bars. Let me explain what I know while you have a look. Is it's now sort of a area that a lot of young people go to, but they're saying a lot of people our age go to now too. And they basically, these buildings got ruined in the war, and some younger people came in and just started turning them into bars. And now they haven't fixed them at all. And now they've got quite a few of these ruin bars that are basically different themes, and it's just you can wander around up and down stairs. And one lady said to me, she said, "Oh, well, you wouldn't like to drink too much in there because you'd never find your way out." But I got a few photos of the outside of them. When we got there, they weren't open. So
yeah. So basically, it was once the site of the Jewish ghetto.
Right.
The historical Jewish quarter became dilapidated in the decades following World War II, after the deportations of tens of thousands of Jews. Now, then a guy came in, the first guy, and it's called the SZIMPLA, Simpler, began as a small experiment, a bar set up in the abandoned building offering affordable drinks for the young and creative people.
That's me.
It really kicked off in 2004 when Abel Zendovitz, I think I got that too, Abel Zendovitz decided to gamble on a condemned building complex on Gazinski Street, which marked the start of the legendary ruin bars.
So they're really impressive, basically. As I said, I've got some nice photos of one of the entrances and some of the buildings on the outside, and they're just a real iconic thing to go and see when you're, in the Pest Side of Budapest. Not far from the ruin bars, funnily enough, is the
Donny Street Synagogue.
Yeah, and we walked around the outside of that, and they've got some gardens and memorials there as well, right? And it's huge.
Yeah, so also known as the Great Synagogue, is the largest synagogue in Europe.
Right.
Seating 3,000 people, and the synagogue was built between 1854 and 1859 in the Moorish revival style, with decorations based chiefly on Islamic models from North Africa and medieval Spain. The complex consists of the Great Synagogue, the Heroes Temple, the graveyard, the memorial, and the Jewish Museum, which was built on the site on which Theodor Herzl, now this guy was pretty, amazing, the Austro-Hungarian Jewish journalist, lawyer, writer, playwright, and political activist, who was the father of the modern political Zionism.
Oh, that's all a mouthful.
And that was on the house of his birth stood.
But you can go inside the synagogue if you want to.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot of, it's quite funky and edgy around that area in Budapest. There's lots of really, how can I say it? Like different sort of little cafes and coffee shops and things. Like they're sort of. I guess they're a bit like the ruin bars. They're sort of stuck in alleyways, and there was some really popular people lining up to get into some of these. There was one called the Bluebird Cafe, and then across the road. So obviously it's quite a young area, and obviously they know the popular places to go. So there's little art. There's a lot of street art around as well. It was just really great just walking around. Just it felt really funky. Oh yes, you got something.
Well, just the renovations. This to me was really unique. The renovations began in the 1990s. The 3-year reconstruction was initially funded by a US $5 million donation from the government.
This is the synagogue.
This is the synagogue, okay. Right?
Yep.
Jewish, from the government's Jewish Americans. Estee Lauder and Tony Curtis, the actor, contributed to the additional $20 million needed to complete the restoration in 1996.
Cool.
So I think the sad part about it is that it remained ruins because they knew the Jews weren't coming back. So in some respects, it's fabulous to see that they've redeveloped it and it's thriving.
It's a very vibrant area.
Very, very, very vibrant area. But at the same token, it's also sad to think about actually what happened.
All right, well, let's flip the coin now and let's go back from the Jewish area, sort of back in not far from Parliament House, to the huge cathedral, St. Stephen's.
Aha, yes.
Now, this is the Hungarian's largest and most loved cathedral, St. Stephen's. St. Stephen's all over Budapest, yeah? He was a popular guy, yeah? He sort of ruled and the people liked him.
Well, St. Stephen was... he was obviously the guy the original guy that tried to get, and we spoke about this in the previous podcast, to try and get the Magyars to become, one, he wanted them to become Christians, and two, to Europeanize their culture. So it's
the tour we went. I'm going to put a link to a tour to go inside and actually see the church, because it's impressive outside, but you need to go inside and find out all about it. So we wandered in and
we had to line up for tickets to get in. It wasn't too bad, the actual line. It's actually very, very reasonable. It's probably the most reasonable place or tourist site to get into.
Yeah, but anyway, check out the tour. There's a link to it in episode 102.
So what I've got here, I've got Budapest Neoclassical Cathedral is the most sacred Catholic church in all of Hungary. That's right. Contains its most revered relic, the mummified right hand of King Saint Stephen.
We walked all around that church, didn't we, to see that? And I actually got a pretty good photo of St. Stephen's mummified hand. So
it's only little though. Must only had a little.
Well,
must have been a little close.
It all shrinks up.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the legend is that his body had been exhumed before he was canonized, and that when his right hand and arm were found mummified, Stephen was mummified.
Yeah.
Stephen became the king of Hungary on Christmas Day in the year 1000. He was canonized in 1083 by Pope Gregory the 12th.
Anyway, go and check out.
But it was
a
very impressive building, a typical European.
A lot of marble.
Yeah, huge marble.
Like the columns were all marble, and there's sort of almost a brown maroon colour with cream sort of running through it.
Yeah, beautiful.
And then the pulpit area, which got a gorgeous photo of, in the dome, and then you turn around.
What do you call it? The
pulpit area?
Oh, yeah, pulpit. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, altar area.
Okay, altar.
No, well, actually, no. That you've got the pulpit is where they do the sermon.
So you're a Catholic schoolboy.
And then you've got the altar, which is the main.
The altar. Thank you. Well, okay, and then you turn around from the pulpit altar area to that massive church, the organ.
The organ. There's 2 organs there. Yeah.
And they have concerts, don't they? It's a massive. You can't believe how big this thing is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's and they as I said, they have concerts. I think it's on the weekend. They give you out times, and you can go and actually sit and listen to that. That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was just to go back to the mummified hand. It was weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was. I got to be honest, it was weird. It's like
it's got a bracelet on it too. Like, look, I had a bracelet and stuff, didn't it? Or maybe that's just, I don't know.
But it's but the church itself is very.
If they found the arm and the hand.
Oh, I don't know, Leanne. I've got no idea. But it's the typical of the big European Catholic Church. Yeah. They've all got to have something.
Yeah, they've got to have a mummified nail or a mummified. Well, the whole Pope in the St. Peter's.
Yeah, Pope's
but when
John Paul.
When you walk out of St. Stephen's, right, you look overlooking this beautiful big square, and then straight down another tree-lined street.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and that basically you can see the chain bridge, which you walk across to go back over to the border side. Yeah. It was really impressive. So as you can tell, we love the Pest side. We also found the Opera House, which is. You can go in and have a look at that as well, which was once again.
Yeah, the foyer. We only got into the foyer area, obviously, because we were waiting for the bus for our wine tour, which we'll talk about next time. But yeah, very elaborate, very ornate.
Yes. Now we've talked also about the squares and the little markets you find around with street food, which was pretty impressive. We were going to talk about some food as well. Yes.
Yes.
So there is some traditional Hungarian food that my daughter did tell us to have, and we've been a bit.
Hey, Michaela.
We've been a bit slack. We've just been eating Thai food and stuff. we were tired by the end of the day. Anyway, 2 of the things that we wanted to try were called langos, which is spelled Langos, but
Correct.
Pronounced langosh. Now, lang means flame, right?
Correct.
So these are like flatbread, and originally they were cooked in a clay oven, right? So that's why they were called that, and they made them hot for breakfast. And there's a talk whether they're Turkish or Roman sort of origins, but now they're deep fried. So deep fried flatbread and fat bread, which is probably a better description, with toppings, yeah? And we went for a really basic topping, the Hungarian one of red onion, bacon and cheese, was it, I think, and some sour cream. And the dough is fluffy and light, and I really enjoyed it. Like I've got a photo of those, yeah?
Okay, so what's the difference between pizza and langos?
Well, pizza is...
Pizza has a soft, chewy crust, which can be thick or thin, depending on the style.
Right.
Langos, on the other hand, has crispy outer layer with a fluffy interior.
Right, thanks for that.
So basically it's sort of like a pizza, really.
No, it's not. It's nothing like a pizza. It's like flatbread.
Well,
no.
the toppings are...
You can have whatever... No, it's not.
You could have a Hawaiian bloody langos. You could. Pineapple and ham.
But the base is light and fluffy and delicious. So.
Yeah, there is a difference.
Yeah, there is.
So we tried that.
Yeah, and I got some nice photos of that, and I was sitting eating that. And then the other thing that Michaela was adamant that we should try. Are you going to give me another history lesson on this?
Probably.
Okay. The chimney cakes. Now, let me go first, please. The chimney cakes are all over Hungary. You can buy them in a shop. You can buy them in the little street vendors. But they are a traditional Hungarian pastry that they wrap around a wooden spool and slowly turned over an open fire, right? And then they cover them in sugar or other toppings. Now, they originate from Transylvania, okay, which is actually in Romania. However, the first recipe is from a Hungarian, and what they say is they were made by Hungarians living in Romania. And they're the oldest pastry in Hungary, and they are delicious.
You win.
Thank you.
Well done, Leonita.
What do you got?
I've just got flavours include pistachio, Nutella, cinnamon, which is the one we had, coconut and vanilla, and you can have ice cream in them.
Yeah, well, we just got the original one, and once again, I've got videos of us, undoing that and eating it, and that's on Beach Travel Wine on the Budapest highlight story.
And just be aware, you only need one between two because they're pretty big.
They are pretty big. So we love this side of
Pest.
One other thing we're quickly going to talk about though is we did a cruise, a nighttime cruise, or like an afternoon cruise, basically, on the Danube. Now, I've put a link to the cruise in our show notes as well. So go to episode 102. If you want to do the cruise, which is there's so many, but the one we did was really good because it's only about an hour, 15 minutes, but you need to book that early as well.
Yeah.
Right? And because we could only get the 7 o'clock slot, and if you want to do it, I would recommend you do the 8 o'clock slot because then it's as the sun's going down. We've got a little bit of sunset, but by then all the lights start to come on as well. Yeah. Now, you don't see anything that you can't see walking along the Danube, but to do it on the river, you get up a bit more close to the Parliament House building. You get some beautiful views of the Chain Bridge and you're going under it, and obviously the Buda Castle and Fisherman's Bastion and Matthias Church. You get some lovely views of the roof of that because it's just stunning, shining in the sun there. And, up then to the Citadel as well. So you get some really nice views and you get a free glass of wine, which was actually pretty good. And they get you on and off the boat and you just sit there and just look at it all go by. You go past Margaret Island as well. So, that was a nice thing to do at the end of the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, I agree with what you said earlier, but I'd almost try and get the 9 o'clock one because I just think that then you start in the dark because it really doesn't start to get dark when we were there till about 8 o'clock. Yeah, so it really depends on the time of the year.
Yes.
We were like
end of spring.
End of spring.
Yeah.
So I'd probably look at about 9 o'clock at night, and I would imagine the views of the buildings being lit up would be phenomenal from the river.
From the river. I did get some lovely photos though, even though it wasn't dark, because I was able to zoom in on the bridges and get to see a little bit different angle of the Parliament building and also those other ones I was talking about. So it is worth doing, and it's relaxing. And you've got to cruise on the Danube when you're in Budapest.
Oh, look, you can't not do it. But just to give the guys a plug, the actual operators of the Danube cruises, logistics of it, fantastic.
Yeah,
really, really well done.
Yeah, as soon as you get on, you get handed a glass of wine, you sit down. There's a bit of commentary for you, and So once again, I'll put the link to the cruise we did because I would highly recommend that. It was wasn't too busy. You could get on, you could walk there. It was easy to get to. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So, Lyle, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's
we've done
Pest. I think Pest was
impressive. We loved
really,
it.
really, really nice.
So now we've covered
totally different from Buda. Buda being more the residential area, but they've got the two major.
101, episode 101. We talked about that. So we basically covered both sides and the river. And our next episode, we've got some hidden gems. We found some amazing things to do that I'm sure most people don't know about. There's one that everyone knows about, but, we're going to talk about that as well. So that's a bit exciting coming up. And it involves going underground. It involves going underwater. But this week, let's finish off with your favourite place to have a glass of Hungarian wine. What did you say last time? I think you said Fisherman's Bastion. Maybe.
Yes. And you said from the hotel room looking out across.
Yeah, but we're in Pest. Where would you say from there?
I'd say, let me think. You'd have to go the cruise.
Yeah, okay.
On the Danube.
Oh, how could you not? Yeah. You'd have to say having a glass of wine, almost at sunset, sitting on a boat on the Danube, cruising down the Danube, looking at all those buildings. I'm with you. Can we share that one this week?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode all about the Pest Side of Budapest, and we look forward to bringing you our exciting secret hidden gems in next week's episode. So until then, it's goodbye from me, Lyle.
And it's goodbye from me, Leonita.
Bye.
Goodbye.